And we are live. Let's wait and see who shows up. Hopefully they didn't give up.
Yeah, so this is what, your probably 5th or 6th interview now, Jen?
I think so, yeah. It's going well. I'm getting used to the live thing a little bit more, and a little bit. There's always a little bit of awkward, but it'll smooth itself out, and the writing's coming back easily. That part was always easy though. So, welcome to the whole 2 people who are watching to Jen's awesome show. We are running a little bit late, and that is a-okay with me, as long as it's hopefully a-okay with you guys. I'm here with Jimmy, and I'm gonna ask a ton of questions because I don't know Jimmy very well, really. I mean, I think we've met in stream, what, like twice, maybe ever?
Yeah, maybe on a group chat or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and suddenly we're coworkers. Woo! So surprise. Yeah. So first question: when I say the Uplift World, what comes to mind for you?
That's a good question. I think for me, like, yeah, it's just something really cool that I'm a part of now. Because the story is quite long. Like, it's kind of the apex of something that began maybe 3 or 4 years ago for me, and with Uplift Nation and what we were trying to do and building for charity and philanthropy and getting people involved in blockchain and porting towards art, and then, you know, having Corey get involved and porting towards this gaming world, and then melding them two together alongside of music. So I just think that, like, it's going to be a really cool paradigm shift for anyone involved in, you know, social networking, because you're adding almost a 3-dimensional layer to something that previous to now was just 2D, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And that's, I think, what's so exciting, at least for me anyway. So who are you to the Uplift world? What's your role?
Well, yeah.
Good question.
My designated role is Jimmy D, I guess. Yeah, I do a lot of stuff, and I have been doing a lot of stuff. So I was, for those that don't know, when Bluth started this whole idea, it was first called Uplift Nation, and it was about 3 or 4 years ago, and I got involved quite early, and we had a group of people, and we were trying to put, you know, charity on the blockchain so that it was accountable. And our idea was to create this basically system, or this social site whereby various charities could be vetted and they could come on, and various people could come on and they could be a part of that. And then that kind of ported away due to, you know, legal issues and the difficulty with pushing things through, especially in America. Even though I'm not based there, the entity, the company was, and so Blue kind of ported towards UpliftArt, and so I, you know, obviously supported what he was doing, and I started writing, and I was doing social media management for that old you know, entity. So I moved over and started running some social media and doing some writing and doing some blogs. And then of course, I met Dennis and all of these other great people that, you know, had come on board to UpliftArt, and I continued there. And then I guess, you know, Corey decided he wanted to interview me, much like this, after he had started collaborating with Blue. And the interview went so well that he said, "Hey, do you want to do this once a week?" So we started doing this once a week, and that was about the time I think that he was actually, you know, thinking about how to bring the Uplift world, like, out of from what it used to be into the blockchain world, right? And so we started doing this, and it's funny because, like, one of the funniest things is, like, we were doing the show called EOSIO Weekly at the time. Now it's changed drastically. I mean, now this is a network, but, you know, we were doing it once a week. We would do an update. We would try to do an update. We would never get through it. And one day he came to me and he said, "Okay, you know what? We're almost at the bull market. Let's do 5 days a week. Let's jump on here for 5 days a week and we'll do it." And I said, "I don't know, man. Like, it's gonna be tough. Like, maybe let's just do one more day." And he's like, "Look," he's like, "Jimmy, I love you, but we're either gonna do it the same way we're doing it now, or we're gonna do it 5 days a week. There's no in between." So I'm like, "Okay, we'll do it 5 days a week." We did 2 or 3 shows, and then the Uplift became a thing. And what was interesting about that was Corey said to me, he said, okay, I want to try something new. I want to go in this game and I want to like put gratitudes on the wall. Is that okay? And I'm like, I don't know. Like we're doing this EOSIO show and now we're going to put like people in a game. Like, I don't know if it really works or not. Like it's going to be a little bit strange. He's like, give me 1 month. He's like, let me do it every single day for 1 month. And then if you don't like it, we can revisit it and you can kill it. Right. I think he got about 3 days before I was like totally on board. Like, I think,
yeah.
I think after 3 days, I'm like, I don't need the month anymore. This is great because we had people coming in, we had people doing gratitudes, and then that kind of ported our show away from a lot of what we were doing into this whole, Uplift World metaverse, which then, connected it back to the art, which you guys were doing with the building, which you guys were doing in game, with the structure that you guys were doing in game, alongside with M Blue, the gratitude thing, perfectly mixed with the creative philanthropy idea. We had like other people coming on board, who's going to join us very soon, I guess, Yoshi. Yep. And like other, big entities. We got, sponsored by Legend. What was the question? What do I do? So what I do is, what I do is I be me, right? Like, so I do a lot of things that like I think maybe people don't even know, but like there's gaps in every project, in everything that happens, right? Like, I mean, people have been paying attention. They've seen me in Telegram like probably 4 or 5 hours a day, for the last week, because we were running an event and things were happening and I was in there. There was some bad community sentiment that I was trying to fix, right? Like I run our media, I run our social channels. We run a lot of, shows on this channel, like networking, trying to bring projects in. I kind of feel like I don't really do anything, but I do everything, right? Like I'm not an expert at anything, but I'm kind of connected with everyone who's doing things and trying to help them, better optimize. And when there's nobody doing something, then I do it. I'm kind of trying to be modest here, but like at the same time, I want people to understand what I do, right? Like that's
exactly. Well, that's something I've noticed too, is that if you suggest something, you're likely going to be the one who ends up doing it. So be prepared.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's been interesting. But yeah, curiosity about who does what is probably the biggest thing I've noticed, is who does what and what is this thing and how does it work?
Yeah.
Kind of the two parallel things.
Yeah. So on that, like I just like to say, right, like there are a few public faces to this project, but there's a lot of people who are working in the background that other people don't know, right? And so like that's the thing, like I'll go into Telegram and you guys will ask me a question like, oh Jimmy, like how do I build this? Like I don't know. I gotta contact Greg because I've got no idea, right? Like I'm a new Minecraft type of dude, right? Like somebody will come, somebody will like come to me and say, okay, well, we need to do this, and it's like, okay, who do I know that like is the coder on the back end, right? That's not me. But what I do is like I can relay this information and I can build that sentiment in the community, because I think that's what we need, right? We need people to come in and we need people to connect and we need people to be helpful and we need people to enjoy and we need people to relax and get their craft out there. No pun intended, until afterwards. But like we really need like this type of stuff, right? So like, I mean, if we want to put that information out there, there's like hundreds or thousands of social channels, right? And there's never enough that we can do. And so basically I'm busy doing that all day. But if you need me, you know where to find me.
That's fantastic. And that's not a job I envy. The whole various social channels thing and trying to keep each one straight is a thing. And who do you know on each of them, and this and that and the next. And I don't envy you, and I'm grateful that you exist and do the job you do.
Yeah, some of them die frequently, but they always come back.
Yeah, that's a thing too. And so, yeah, no, it's just, this works out all better for me then. So you started with Uplift Nation. How on earth did you hear about that? How'd that start?
So I was one of the early people. I was one of the early people in EOS, I guess.
Okay.
I participated in the ICO in a minimal capacity, just because I wanted to be a part of it, because I thought what they were doing with the airdrops looked like it was really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, in the end, a lot of people just sold those, so the tokens took a big hit. But one of the ones that I got really interested in was Tribe. Tribe was a kind of like a medium type of a social network, and it had a great group of people running it at the time. Most of those people have moved on, and not that the people who are there now aren't great, but I just kind of started hanging out in the Telegram community because it was a fun place to be. And it's funny because I see a lot of parallels between our Uplift channel. There's a lot of really cool community members that come in there that are now like kind of admins. And so somebody gave me an admin tag there, and I decided, okay, I'm going to write an article. So I wrote an article. And then after I started writing a little bit, because I had always been a writer, but I had never done blogs or anything like that. And so after I started writing for a bit, I had decided that, like, okay, maybe I'll do some stuff and I'll do some research. And I started watching like a few YouTube channels, and then that was around the same time that M Blue started his channel, and he started talking about the Uplift. So, I liked what it, as a permaculturalist, I liked where he was going with this kind of win-win situation type of thing. And I don't even think he really knew like what we were doing back in the Uplift days. And so I popped into the Telegram channel, and then he put together this kind of like group of people, and we would talk, occasionally in there. And then all of a sudden it was just like, okay, like let's do something, right? So we created this community call that we would go on once a week, and we, got really excited because we were going to get funding from like Block One, and we had like, we got together and we did this pitch with Dan Larmer. And it was going to be great because we were going to get all this money, but it wasn't the real Dan Larmer. It was like some scammer. It was really funny actually. Like, because we were just like, oh, we spent like a whole weekend, like 48 hours, like just grinding hard to get this pitch deck together, and we sent it off to them, and then they're like, oh yeah, okay, this is great. So if you need the funding, just give us like $5,000. We're like,
yeah.
That doesn't make sense. Like, and then we figure out that it was like one of those tricky, like an I instead of an L, or a 1 instead of an L, or something like that. And then so like after that, we were like stoked, and it was a really cool lesson learned because we didn't lose any money, and like we figured it out. This awesome pitch deck, and we were just like, okay, now what do we do? And then we had other people that started joining that deck, and then, like I said, we just had complications because everything, even though we were a registered company, like to put everything on the chain and to get all of these entities to trust us and verify the government end of things and fill out the tax end of things, and like to become like a platform for registered charities is no easy task, right?
No.
And then so yeah, that's kind of how it kind of got left. And every time we turned a corner, we couldn't do what we wanted to do because to onboard these charities was just too complex. And I think in the end, probably what happened was Blue just, after the lockdown, he got into it, and he was just like, you know what, screw this. Like, I can't be sitting doing this anymore. And that's where he kind of created this first charity event, to be able to give to Haitian roots. And from there, I believe that's kind of where UpliftArt was born. And it just made more sense to do more good for less entities than to try to pull the whole charitable space on the blockchain into Uplift Nations. So UpliftArt just made more sense, and I guess that led to where we are today. So should we let Yoshi in?
That makes sense. Yeah, we should definitely let Yoshi in.
All right, hi Yoshi.
Hello.
Hey guys, how are you? Hey Jimmy.
Good. How are you?
Great, thank you for having me. Sorry about that.
Absolutely.
No, that's all right.
Anytime Corey says someone's worth knowing, it's worth pursuing, and that applies to both of you. So
thank you. I think Jen, you were seeing me running on the street of New York, trying to get back home.
Interesting. I've never been to New York, so that's always, visuals are always good.
Yeah, you should visit.
Definitely. I'd like to one day.
Fun city. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we were just kind of getting started with the very bare bones beginning. If you don't mind, if I say Uplift World, what does that mean to you?
Oh, it signify actually NFT and crypto as a whole, Uplift World, because I think a lot of you, or a lot of them are involved in this project. They have been there from the beginning, even before Wax, before like when people starting EOS, and a lot of them are from there. But for me, it's like Uplift showed me that world. So it's kind of like I got
Yep.
the best of I caught a really good timing because I see a lot of people's not a struggle is not a word, but hard work, right? For
Yes.
years and years of hard work. And I just get to just walk in and see it. And you know, I feel blessed about that situation for
That's
sure.
fantastic. And so how are you involved with the Uplift?
Hey, how am I involved with Uplift, Jimmy?
Yeah, okay. So here's the thing, right? Like Yoshi is like I it's funny because I used to always joke that I was like the ninja, right? Like I like to work behind the scenes. I like to write things. I don't put my name on stuff. I mean, it's only
So
very
good,
recently
yes.
where I've been putting my name on stuff that we write. Like I was always known but as the uplifter, right? But now that we have this kind of company, people want, their name on things, which is cool. But like that's the thing. Yoshi is like the ultimate ninja. Like he's like I'm the Padawan. He's like my senpai because like all the things that he's involved in, behind the scenes, the connections that
Oh
he's
my
made,
goodness.
the promotional value that he brings. Like Yoshi does this really cool thing where he goes online every day, and it's day 26 or day 31 or day 54 of speaking to these entities out there in the world that he believes can do good for children, that can do good for charity, that can do good for the state of the world. And,
Mm-hmm.
and he just does this all out of the kindness of his own heart. And so how are you involved in the Uplift? Well, you support us. That's a big thing. But Yoshi, in a way, everything that you do out there in the space is what the Uplift was meant to be, in my opinion. Like that's
Yeah,
that.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan. I'm a fan. Let's say that, you know.
That sounds good. I like that. So what do you do? What is your role in life?
I want to be I being in involved in music, not particularly just the business side of it, but also like, creative side, and then that was like it still is my passion, but that's
Okay.
who it made, what it made me who I am today.
Okay.
It's not just like a one company that I'm working for a music related company, but it's not before that I run my own recording studio for 10 years.
Okay.
I love like recording people and producing music, and no matter the genre, right? But I think the NFT and crypto community, especially in the EOS and wax community in general, is very accepting, and a lot of like-minded people. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it just reminds me of like the sense of good communities or should be like, right? And
Yep.
I'm a fan of people, and I'm a fan of music, so I like where I feel comfortable at, and I kind of like definitely gravitated towards this situation with Uplift and Wax as a whole community ecosystem. I'm a huge fan of it. Gives me the best user experience and
Mm-hmm.
make me want to come back for more, that type of thing. Um, yeah, and in the music business, we have this guys, A&R, artist and repertoire, right? This pretty much who find the talent and assign people. But
Yep.
I wanna consider myself A&R of people just in general. Like I wanna find the good people and connect them, not just let them know what I wanna do or anything, but just to get like-minded people together and see what happens. Like, and I've been pretty good doing that, you know.
Yep.
So, yeah, and I'm excited about this space and just be part of you know the guys in the back where just have fun and get to know great people, and it's great.
Absolutely. Well, let's one more serious question and then moving on to something a little more silly. So, how did you get into the NFT trade and get interested in or learn about cryptocurrencies?
Okay, what's funny is that short answer is Street Fighters, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Jimmy, you laughing, but it's so funny. Like, I knew about cryptocurrency from maybe 2013, 14, when people talked about first start talking about bitcoins and what it is, and not just as a money or those like a currency thing, but it's just the system itself, right? And I remember reading about it and really excited about it, but not until I really get the hands on Street Fighters and learn about NFTs and just saw the whole picture. It just came, the whole thing came together because I've never been a type of person to be like, hey, I'm an investor guy, or like, hey, I swap crypto for a living, or one of those
Mm-hmm.
not just the crypto space in general, but finance guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
I live in the New York City so for a long time now, so I know a lot of like money people, but I'm far from it, or I'm trying to get away from that type of not type of people, but like type of the world. Even though I live in the middle of it, um, what I was trying to get at, yeah. So I knew about it for a long time, right?
Okay.
Um, but it never get a hands on it until Street Fighter came along, and that's not long ago, right? It's like 3 months ago
Yeah,
or
that's
two
pretty
months.
recent.
Yeah, I'm a newbie.
Okay.
I'm laughing because I know how Street Fighter was like built, like the tokenomics and the game mechanics of it was quite interesting. But like being like over here on the other side of the world, like I missed some of those like events because the timing is off. So that was one that like I never actually got into, and like I just think it's funny that like that's what got you into. Because I was like, okay, do I stay
Yeah.
awake until 3 o'clock in the morning and then be really tired tomorrow, or do I just I'm just gonna go to sleep, right? And then like that's the one that like actually got Yoshi in, so that's pretty funny to me.
But it taught me like the basic of everything about minting, right? About
Mm-hmm.
burning, about
Yeah.
this whole thing that Wax has been building upon, and then making it differentiate themselves from all the other NFT spaces, or other competitors or whatever. It just showed me the whole picture of what they were trying to do with the great partnership with Capcom, and just got me where I need to be at. And I think a lot of people spend time with the crypto space since like 5-6 years ago. They have been to like crypto winters or a lot of tough situation, and then now it just got this point, and a lot of them were just like really not the tired is not the word, but like they just have this feeling like finally people caught on to it and situation, and they're happy as well, but they're being there, right? So it's like they
Yeah.
deserve it. But me, I'm just having fun, man. To be honest, like there's a lot of money is involved, and I get people are so serious about it, but I love just the play pay to play aspect is amazing, and this whole transparency and security about blockchain is also amazing. I love
Mm-hmm.
that. But the top of it all, I think the people I got to know in this short amount of time is the most incredible thing, I think.
Yep.
Just it just bring people together, and I got lucky, like, because I didn't got into with the Ethereum or Dapper or Nifty guys. Like, I just got introduced to this first, so I
Yep.
never got burned in a way, right? And I
So
never had a tough time, right?
so they have
Mm-hmm.
this saying, right? And Jen, maybe you can relate to this a little, even though you're just kind of new to this whole YouTube thing. But as a journalist, as a writer, right? They have this saying that like, if you want to interview somebody that of a project that you really like, then the best way to do it is to become a journalist or to become a YouTube person, right? Like if I reach out to some project and I say, oh, can you give me more information? They're like, yeah, go to the website and read it. If I reach out to some project and say, hey, I want to have you on the show for an interview, or I want to write an article about you, then they're going to give you all the answers that you want. I mean, don't use this if you're not going to write, but like for all those out there in the community, right? But this is the thing, right? But like going back to what Yoshi said, if, having a YouTube channel and being able to interview whoever you want just because, they want exposure to come on the channel, even a small channel like ours, is a thing, right? What's even more of a thing is like the people that are involved in Wax, and like Yoshi said, like the people that are involved in Wax that are making content, making videos, and even making projects, like these are all, the majority of them are really good people that come from like really varied backgrounds. There's so many artists and musicians, and like, you've been introduced to a lot of them on this channel, but like just really cool people. And like that, I think is what makes all of these projects work so well. It's just everyone is there to support everyone else. It's not this financial type of game, right? Yeah, it's
this space is just starting up. Like, I feel like we're still less than 1% of what it will be in few years, maybe less, right? And then 3 of us make us like 1% of the Wax economy, like Wax population right now, right?
Yeah.
Imagine, million people in there. We all have like 1,000 people are listening to us, like tens of thousands of people are tuning in to your channel and reading Jimmy's article, right? I see it's just beginning of it all, like, and still to get to this point, like a lot of people work so hard for it, right?
Yeah, well, and it's interesting too talking to both of you, because Jimmy jumped in a few years ago and you jumped in recently, and I'm asking questions because I don't know as much as I want to about everything. But yeah, it's absolutely fascinating. So to kind of capitalize on that movement there, Jimmy, since you did jump in so much longer ago than both of us, how are you viewing this, I guess, explosion of creativity and sudden interest in the community?
The crypto rabbit hole is really big. Like it's like a dino rabbit down here. Like there's not some like small little fluffy cuddly thing that you can, take home and cuddle up with on the sofa. Like this is like a monster dino rabbit that will eat you alive. And we get filtered through various places, right? And somehow, because of my beliefs, because of what I like, I ended up being filtered, through Ethereum, mostly into the EOSIO space, because I didn't like the idea that, in my belief, Ethereum has great tech, there's some great people behind it, but like I don't like the fact that people have to pay money and that not everyone can participate, because when the market booms, all of these people have to pay these high transaction costs, and then the higher transaction costs you pay, you can front run other people, which doesn't align with what I want to see, right? So why I liked EOSIO was because it's no longer, it was free transactions, right? However, they did some things that annoyed the community, annoyed me, and they did some things that were great as well, right? I still think from a tech standpoint, Block1 did great. But what happened was then you had all of these people that didn't really agree with what EOS was, and they branched off and they created their own chains, or they used that technology in the case of Wax to be able to take something that wasn't fully operational where they were and then move it over to somewhere that it was. And I think this is the beauty of Wax. Wax has been flying completely under the radar. And Engine, I will give it out to Engine as well. Like what Engine is doing is really cool with the gaming thing. What Ultra is doing is really cool. But Wax ended up coming in completely under the radar with these IP rights that were huge and allowed everyone to come in and participate for free. And they screw up every single release that they have, Wax. The first year, every single release that they had, they screwed it up. They like people didn't get in, or the wallet stopped or something. But the best part about Wax was they looked at that screw up and they fixed it for the next drop. And they just keep fixing it. And now you have all of these new gamification aspects that to me, it seems like it's a community built for collectors. It's a community built for artists, and very soon, probably a community that's built for musicians, to be able to take those things that we love, that we want to collect, that we can be a part of. And as well, for people who are creating those things to be able to come in very quickly and very easily without so much friction and get their name out there, right? I don't see that existing in the real legacy world. It's really difficult to sit down and get your you know, your artwork into a major museum or into a major, you know, art studio. It's really difficult, you know, to create like a music video, for example. And even if you get a music video and you put it on YouTube, who's to say that you're going to get any monetary benefit from it, right? And so I think what Wax is doing is Wax is like combine all of these things, and they're such a powerhouse organization that with the IP that they have, the rights that they have, like places like Topps, Capcom, and I mean Topps with it brings Marvel, Disney. Like, I mean, okay, fashion, right? Like I something you didn't know about me. With my missus, we had a small fashion company, a kind of a retro fashion company that we did. And like, I'm not really a fashion guy, but I'm kind of weird. Like, I kind of like fashion, and I did, like, you know, some making of things. Like, I was like, you know, I have a daughter. She's 1.5. I have a daughter, and the Bratz cards came out. I don't know who Bratz are, but I saw Bratz, sparkle fashion. I'm gonna buy a pack. I'm gonna put it in a Wax wallet, and when my daughter is 20, she can open it and she can be rich. This is my like kind of thinking, right? I'm never gonna watch Bratz. I don't even
Me too.
but like, obviously, like, you can do that, right? Like, you can connect with your kids, you can connect with your family. Like, you know, we can have kids in the Minecraft playing, you know, like with us, you know, with our friends' kids. Like, there's new relationships, right? You can have kids putting art on the blockchain, which is something else I believe that, you know, right? Like, you can have, like, it's like, I don't know. I'm gonna kind of, I don't even know if I believe this, but if you remember back in the day, you know, like 1980s, early 1980s, you know, before corporate America took over, like, McDonald's wasn't really that bad. They did a lot of cool things for kids and art and all of these things, right? They kind of lost themselves, and they're coming back to it maybe again. But this is what it's like, right? It's taking all of these companies, these massive, you know, multi-billion-dollar companies, putting them, number one, in touch with their fans, but giving their fans and people who want to become a part and create, you know, this model of sustainability for real world artists, for real world musicians, for real world people, into this mix where they can actually do it. That's a really long way around the question, but I don't see that happening anywhere else in the blockchain space, right? There's great art on Ethereum, there's great gaming on Engine, but I don't see it happening anywhere else other than Wax. And like Yoshi said, it's 1% of 1% of 1% of the people in the world that are like paying attention. So when people figure out that they can come in, they can create art for free, they can interact with these really cool projects that are providing, you know, money for, you know, funding of schools, or funding of charities, or funding of, you know, ecosystems, or permaculture, or business, or you know, there's projects that are like funding poor people in Detroit, for example, you know, because of the economy. There's projects that are funding schools in Haiti. Like, it's going to be massive. The network that Wax has built, I think it's going to be like the next Bitcoin. And I don't mean that it's going to go to $50,000 a coin. What I mean is that, like, it's going to take on a life of its own, and there's not going to be any stopping it, right? And like, if these entities don't get on board, they're going to be left behind, and so they're going to get on board because they want to be a part of that, right? They want to be part of it. Sorry, exactly. But yeah, that's my rant for now.
Good rant. Well, I'm going to change our tactic here just a little bit and throw something at you. Curveball time. I'll start with you, Yoshi, and it's okay to take a moment to think about this one because it's not always right there. If you could make a really big mess, any really, really big mess with no repercussions, no budget, and you're not responsible for cleaning it up, what would you do? And Jimmy, if you have an answer first, you can jump in too. Anything. Sky's the limit. Well, space is the limit, I guess.
I will. I wanna bring a whole bunch of people into Japan from overseas, and just to flood it with people and just mix them all up, because that country need a little help.
That is interesting. Why that particular mess?
I love it.
Because I was born and raised in Japan, and I exactly know what it needs to be done in that country, and I have a clear vision of what those people need, because I left early on, and take on the world if the world is right, but I learned about the world, and I came from like tiny town in Japan, and I grow up and not knowing, how to speak English, or not knowing to be in the world, or not never got on the plane or anything like that, to just out there, just came here, right, just travel around a whole bunch of places, and really got into it, went to college, high school, and learned the language, and found my way to, like, corporate America, and just got myself into it and see how the world operate. And it's totally different from how it is over there. Jimmy will tell you, but it's a lot of great things, but for a lot of great people, but they need help for sure. It's just like it's different reason how Western world needs certain things, but it's different than that. But in the Eastern world, they have their own issues, and I really want to, like, help if I can. I'm still a Japanese person.
So Yoshi, we're gonna have to have you just a conversation about that on the channel sometime.
Yeah, we need a whole separate 5 hours.
Yeah. Well, totally. I'm like, it's funny because I always said, like, if the first thing that Japan needs is, like, for them to, like, just make me benign dictator of the whole country, because I could fix the problem. And you laugh, but, like, seriously, I think benign dictator. But like Yoshi said, like, the other thing that, like, all of the problems here are almost polar opposites to what happens in America, and it's really interesting, right? Like, I really want to have this conversation with you sometime, Yoshi, on our channel. Let's do it, because I think that'll be fun. But yeah, like, I think it's, like, definitely 100%. One of the, I'm not trying to throw any shade or throw anyone under the bus here, but I'm just going to say it, right? People think that America is this amazing, great country, and that Americans are smart. No, that's not necessarily the case, right? Americans are no smarter than anyone. I'm being nice here, by the way. Americans are no smarter than any other country on the planet, right? But what America did was brilliant, and what America did was America opened up the country to the smartest people from the rest of the world, and those people came in. People like Yoshi came in. They worked hard. They brought their own values. They brought their own morals. This is kind of where they're kind of lacking in the crypto spaces. They're putting all this regulation, so they're stifling it. It's good to see them starting to open up now, but this is what they did, right? They brought that in, and this is what Japan hasn't done. And so Japan, where America, even though Japan is a wonderful country, it's, like, still the 3rd largest economy in the world, which doesn't make sense, because on paper it should be more broken than Ireland or Greece put together. Like, they're brilliant. The way that they've structured it is brilliant, but the declining population, all of these things that Yoshi's saying, like, the people in Japan, if they were out there in the world, it would be good for the world, and it would also be good for them. And I think Yoshi can really speak on that. So if I were to make a mess, somehow,
yeah, man, Jimmy, Jimmy, this crazy how Japanese Jimmy is, Jen.
I was
swear,
wondering about this.
I'm thinking, he thinks exactly same way. Like, this reason why I need Jimmy on my side every time.
I was kind of hoping this would come up.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Yeah, we definitely can make that country a better place, but it's just no comment. I have to get out of there, though. Long story short, like, I have to get out of that country to show Japan how much I worth. Like, because I could never be doing what I'm doing over there. Like, but what I'm doing here is important to me and important to a lot of people, but I can't do what I do in that country.
It's so funny that you say that. Like, I'm the same way. Like, I can't do what I do in North America because I don't have the time to spend this much time online or the infrastructure to be able to do it. So you and I are coming from completely different places. We got tangled up in the middle somewhere, and we have the exact same perspectives on both countries, which I think is really interesting. So If I
That's
were to make a
amazing.
giant mess of the world, going back to your question, and there were no repercussions, if it were me, I would start a YouTube channel with my good friend Corey Cottrell, and that's what I would do.
Yep.
We did it.
And I would do it
It's
again.
not a mess, by the way.
It's not a mess, but yeah, I
It's
mean,
amazing things.
it's okay. Again, like I'm not a fan of perfection, but I'm a perfectionist, if that makes sense. I like perfect messes. Like,
Yeah. I can kind of see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
A structured mess.
Yeah. So a mess that I can kind of control, but like, which it sounds really weird, but like I think Picasso, right? That's what Picasso did. Like he designed the perfect mess, right? And then he got famous for it. I mean, but yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Jumping back here. Yoshi, you have been working on a project of some sort in a quiet way, having to do with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the Metaverse for Children. And I am very, very curious to know more, but I don't know if it's super top secret. Is there anything you can share?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's a secret or anything, but it's mostly, blues thing. So I don't know how much I know even the
Mm-hmm.
whole picture, but
That's
it
fair.
started, it started all from, Blues has wonderful sons, and
Mm-hmm.
I have great kids, and they were just hey, we were like, hey, just let's put them into Minecraft server, and they're playing and
Yeah.
building stuff together, and Blue was saying, hey, like, why don't we build this like kids world thing? And that's how it started. But the whole thing about yeah, because the metaverse is I think 12 plus or 13 plus, and then our kids are under 12, so we're like
Yeah,
in their
mine too.
separate places. The kids, yeah, kids place. So we're just brainstorming and throwing out our thoughts about how, because my daughter, my kids are much better than I am. Like I don't know how to build anything, but
Mm-hmm.
they know how to do so fast. Like I knew I done a little Minecraft even before, like when they're babies, but now they're 8, 7,
Mm-hmm.
8, so they just take it as on their own way and just start building and being a server and connecting with other kids. And I'm like, how did you just do that? Like,
Yeah.
so crazy
That's
things are is those kids, like our kids generation, they're born with complete technology, like cell phones and
yes.
devices. And because we're I don't want to guess Jimmy's or anyone's ages or anything, but I remember when I didn't have a cell phone,
Oh
or
yeah.
when I first got an internet, and
Yep.
I was like 12, 13. I was like, wow, this is so amazing. Like,
Had to wait for the dial
so
up and yeah.
yeah, people are still writing letters and stuff. So it's
Mm-hmm.
different from, 30 years ago or 20 some years ago. Now kids are like born with the cell phone, holding the first toy is the iPad, right?
Mm-hmm.
I
It is
So
I
different.
like it's crazy how quickly they understand, and a little bit scary, right? So I'm old enough that since the pandemic has hit, I've aged 8 to 10 years, because when you're that old and you stop being mobile, you age a lot quicker than you're used to, if that makes sense.
Yep.
stop,
And I'm
stop,
also
stop
I'm
it,
also
Jimmy.
old enough. I'm also old enough that I had my first mobile phone when I moved to Japan. I never had a mobile phone before that, and I moved here, in my early 20s. So just to give people a general idea, but it's funny because my daughter, she's 1.5, and she's hilarious. Like you know, most kids, they prefer mom, you know, at an early age. And when mom's not here, she's okay with me. But sometimes, you know, mom's a little bit too nice, and she says, you know, can you help me, because she's doing something bad, and I'll go over, and she'll just look at me and she'll go like this, like she'll shake her head no, because she knows that she's not supposed to be doing it. And then I'll go to pick her up and remove her, and she gets mad, like she goes like this, and she points to the computer, and then she points to me. Like, so basically she's like, no, daddy, your space is in front of the computer. You go over there and leave me alone and let me do what I want to do, which is super cute. But what's also really funny is, like, she really loves music, right? Like, she can't speak, but like, she knows when the advertisement on YouTube comes on, if it's a music, and she'll look at us and she'll go, ooh, like, right? And we do it, right? But like, she's okay now, but she used to get really angry, and she used to, you know, point to the iPad. And then she would point to the TV, and we'd be like, no, you can't watch more TV today. And then she'd like get angry. She'd point to the iPad and she'd point to the TV, and we'd be like, no, you can't watch more TV today. And then she'd go, huh? And then she'd point to the iPad and she'd point to the other side of the room over by the speaker. And then we would be like, okay, we'll put the music on the speaker. Like, it's amazing to me that at 1 year old, she already understood the fact that the iPad controlled both the TV and the speaker. Like, that's a little bit scary. Like, that's really like, like, you know, to say, like, just to echo what Yoshi said, like, these kids, this is it. And it can be exhilarating, but it can be scary, right? And if you look at, I think, like Japan, that like they half the people in Japan, there's a big gap in Japan. There's the older generation, which they know how to use a computer, they know how to type, but they still like do all their business with fax machines. There's a younger generation that like asked me, they're like, oh, Sensei, can we like write our report on our iPhone and send it to you on notes? No, learn how to type. Oh, but it's too difficult. You're typing one finger at a time on a smartphone, right? So I think this like NFT art space, like all of these collectibles, like kids playing games, right? Like, it's like we saw some kids sitting under the bridge the other day, like by the river, and it's like, you know, my wife said, like, well, that's weird. I'm like, yeah, I wonder what they're doing. They're like, probably, you know, a bunch of 14-year-olds are probably over there smoking drugs. She's like, no, they're playing video games. I'm like, really? that's what you do under bridges in Japan? They play video games? Yeah, they're hiding from their parents playing video games. I'm like, okay, whatever. You know, like, it's not the world that we grew up in, but I think it's really interesting. So
Definitely. Absolutely. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing how this all turns out, and I know my kids would be absolutely thrilled if there were a space for them. So thank you.
And I mean, just having kids in there, like, I say this all the time, but just having kids in there is hilarious. Because I was in the server the day that, you know, Yoshi's daughter decided to cause a ruckus, and it was hilarious because she was just so excited about what she was building that she was picking people up and dropping them, like, you know, in a different world in the air. And you have these 45-year-old men that are plummeting to their death, and they're losing all of their stuff, and they're totally irate. And it's like an 8-year-old that's like doing it, and it's absolutely hilarious. This person needs to be banned. Like, there's no respect. Just chill. We figured out who it was. It's an 8-year-old. It's all right. We promise she will never do it again. We promise. Like, okay, well, if she's 8, I won't ban her then. Like, it was really funny, and it's just like, you know, it's just really funny.
Oh my
like,
god, that is so.
Hilarious. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So, oh my god, that's so funny. Yeah, I think she didn't realize those people playing survival, and they're just.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's so.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, changing it up again a little bit. Jimmy, you have mentioned a couple times that you are a permaculturist. Can you elaborate on that? I have a vague notion of what it means in relation to food security, but is there more to it than that, or what, and how does it impact your current life?
Yeah, so it doesn't impact my current life as much as I'd like it to now. So I'm just going to close the door. Okay, never mind. If it gets noisy, sorry, my daughter came back from the park. And,
That's all good.
But yeah, so it doesn't impact my current life so much anymore. But it's funny because how I got into it actually was I was living in Hawaii at the time, and I was working for a school. I was living in Hawaii at the time, and I was working for a school. And there's a lot of poor people in Hawaii, actually. and they don't have money and they don't have food. And we had this school garden program. And then I started volunteering for this community organization where you could go and volunteer 2 or 3 times, and you could put your I know, but Daddy doesn't like when you're on YouTube. So sorry. So we can put you can go and you can volunteer for 2 or 3 times, and then you can put your name on the list, and this whole community people will come, and they will help you do your yard, and they will create, like you said, like food sustainability. Hawaii is a beautiful place for it because it's a perfect climate. You have people. Honey,
all good. Okay. Well, Yoshi, your turn.
I'll just close that door. So how it works? So how it works
There.
is this. Yeah, and so I started doing this and I loved it, and then I came back to Japan after a couple of years of doing this, and I looked around at Japan, and as Yoshi knows, in Japan, I live in Osaka, which is the most ungreen city in Japan. Right now, if you go to Tokyo, you can find like one of the most beautiful parks in the world, Ueno Park, definitely worth checking out. But in Osaka, there's not really any parks in the central area. And they just actually redid Osaka with all these new shopping centers and things like this. Now, there are 2 or 3 buildings that like actually have green on the roof. But people, they throw out all their garbage, their orange peels, their apple peels, their eggs, and then they go to the plant shop and they buy fertilizer. And it's like, well, why not make your own fertilizer on your balcony? Why not grow your own food? Because I was sure that the world was going to come to a screeching halt in the last 4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I was right. I was just in the wrong country for it. Because when crisis happens, Japan is a beautiful place to be because people don't panic. People don't get into fistfights over toilet paper, like they do in other countries. They come together, they bond, they figure out, how to make things work. There's no lockdown in Japan. Everyone wears a mask. Everyone goes about their daily business. They're respectful of other people for the most part. The way that it's handled in this country, just because of, that's one of the good sides of it, right? But at the same time, if I would have been right and the whole economy shuts down, where are these people going to get their food? Because there's a big problem in Japan, and that's that most of the food is imported because the farmers and stuff aren't working together, and so my idea was you need to have food where the source is, and the best source to have food is the city. And if you walk around, there's certain people in Japan, they'll just plant food in random places beside the train tracks and they'll grow it. And I thought, well, why isn't this a thing? Why aren't more young people doing it? So I wanted to kickstart that. And so I think
Absolutely. So, Yoshi, I'm gonna pick on you here. We're going to
Remember those days.
Oh yeah. Why do you feel that a tokenized economy is the way of the future?
Because every time I have to send my father money or he have to send me some money, it costing us fortune. And when I decide to send my dad wax, it was 0.1 second and
Yeah.
0 fees. And then I just realized that if somebody lives on Mars and then they want money, is banks gonna be there, or is it blockchain will be there, right? Because the internet have to be there. Or moreover, if I want to send some Street Fighter cards to my friend on Mars, then you can't send the physical cards.
That's true.
So I think the money, tangible money, is gonna be around as long as I think we're living. But it won't be too long. I don't know if blockchain system is gonna be in for entire finance system, but I do know that physical money will somehow replace with digital money, and I don't know how. China's doing it in a way without the blockchain, but it just makes sense, right?
It does. It does. And oh, I had a question and it just disappeared. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Um,
you know one thing I felt like different after I you know how transparency this system is like blockchain, especially when I go, you know, when I go look at Atomic Hub, for instance, you can see who sold the item to me and then who sold that item to that person for how much, when, how, and then how many others are selling same items that time, or how much, how, what kind of transaction this person or this drop had. It's amazing to me, you know, because I'm in a consumer product kind of industry too, and it's just so much manipulation you can or it can or they can or do, you know, but it's just this, it's still marketing things aspect of it. Yeah, it have to be there. And I see,
mhm.
you know, for instance, today's Reebok drop from Wax, it was obviously they didn't announce the obvious drop for everyone, but you can see all this stuff, but it's still, it's just the transparency of it all, and then the security of it all, and then just the availability for all that aspect just made me feel, I don't know the word for it, but it just makes me feel like I want to be in this space. Like I think
Mhm.
everyone should be, because you know, making money, paying tax, saving money, spending money, it's it's different from that, I think. Like I feel like if I am a child, doing that is different from trading NFTs, and a child can do that too. But that
Mhm.
transparency part of it and just sharing the idea, right, of those information, I think that will just essentially make everyone a better person.
I like that. And I would tend to agree. And I will get back to you, Jimmy, but I just have one more sort of follow-up here. In terms of mass adoption of crypto as an equal or better system of finance, how do you think that works in terms of having everything decentralized? Is decentralization going to work out for mass adoption, or will it sort of end up being more centralized? What are your thoughts on that?
um I think it's gonna take much longer than enthusiast thinks. Like, you know, I want that to happen tonight, right? Or
Yeah.
we want that happen tonight, but I think centralization in a way is still necessary, because for most of us that's all we know. And
Yeah.
especially for people who has like who's you know, who has a great job, or even though you're not making much money, or if you're content with your lifestyle, you know, why would you need more stuff, right? Like if it's gonna help you, it's fine. But if you are, you know, if you just retired, or you just got into best college in the world, or if you just, you know, got married, or if you just starting a new, just move somewhere, or you just don't have enough space for that, right? Because you have to
Hmm.
be type of person to willing to accept the next, you know, to learn new situation or new things.
Yep.
So that's a learning curve there. And then I think for a lot of people, centralization still feel comfortable for a lot of people, right? And then a
Yep.
lot of people getting paid for it, right? And
That too.
I think, you know, as disconnected as feel like what oil problems and environmental issues and stuff like that is, I think, actually much closer. If we can decentralize the world, we can solve those problems at the same time. But at the same time, if we can't solve those problems, I don't think decentralization will happen at all, because I
Yep.
think it's seriously have a, you know, close relationship or to the other. I think, you know, answer to happiness as a whole is also its answer to the decentralization. So I think it's, if people are greedy, and if some people don't realize that's greedy, because that's the life they know, right?
Yeah.
But it's a fact is that it's taking away from someone's needs in a way. If you keep enough or more than what others will need, because it's wealth distribution is just, it's just a system, and at the end of the day, it's if someone's full and then someone's hungry, right?
Yeah.
So I think that people's mind have to be different than what is going on now. I think it's, you know, you don't even have to take one person's whole entire wealth. You can just take 1% of it and they're gonna go crazy, and it just goes for everybody, me, you know. So yes, like DeFi world is the way, but I think that, you know, a lot of problems we have as a human species, right?
Mhm.
Right? So yeah.
That's that is fascinating because that plays into what you were saying, Jimmy, about growing food and food security and planting things in places where you wouldn't expect, like beside a train track.
Yeah, so
That's about as decentralized as it gets.
it's funny because this might be why Yoshi and I, you know, resonate so well. Is not only because of shared cultural values, but also, you know, these things as well. And so, like, so when I was in Hawaii, for example, oftentimes if you were to go to the supermarket, it would cost you more to buy a locally Hawaiian grown pineapple than it would to buy something that was imported from California, right? And so for me, like the issues that we have with food and production and economy, it's mass manipulated, right? I mean, like Japan is pretty healthy food wise, but if you go to the supermarket, the majority of meat and things like that are affordable to the general populace are coming from overseas, right? And so I have like really big issues with this because you have a nation. After Hawaii, I went to Australia. I lived there for a little bit. I went to New Zealand. I lived in my tent for 2 months. I helped restore this like kind of a community, did a couple courses, learned like earthworks. The beautiful thing about permaculture is permaculture doesn't go into a land with an expectation, right? It doesn't go into the land and say, okay, look, we want to grow corn. So what chemicals do we have to do? We've got to flatten all the soil. It goes into a place and it looks at it and says, what can we grow here? And moreover, it goes into a place and says, oh, wait, there's a small mountain there, a small hill there. If we make that mountain bigger, then we can build more stuff because we've got more biozones to be able to do that. And why I like it when it runs into blockchain and NFTs especially is if you look at the music industry and the manipulation that happens there, right? Because people get famous in the music industry, they say timing is a thing, right? Like somebody will come in and they'll be an amazing artist, and I think I kind of don't know this for sure, but I'm sure that this might have even happened to our good friend Corey at some point in time, because he's got a very distinct voice, something that's a little bit off stream, and when you have someone, you know, like that, and they might not always get recognized for the brilliant talent that they are, right? And so you have this, in my opinion, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have this music industry or this fashion industry or most corporate entities that like this is in. Okay, you can be a great fashion designer, but like bell bottoms were in last year, they're not in this year. So even though your bell bottoms are like your designs are 10 times better than anything that happened last year, we're not interested. We're not going to put them on the shelf because that's not what's going to happen, right? Like, oh, you have an amazing, beautiful, soulful voice, but right now electronic music's kind of in. A girl sitting in front of her, guitar. That was like, early '90s Tracy Chapman type of era. So we're not really going to play with that, right? And so I think what blockchain decentralization allows is for people to actually monetize their content, because they can do it with YouTube already, but there's still a visibility issue and there's a monetization issue. But it allows them to monetize their content, and it allows them to, it allows the general populace to decide whether their things are worthy of being in front of people, right? And I think it so that idea of like permaculture and decentralization kind of crosses the borders, right? Like a lot of people would rather just work a 12 to 14 hour job a day in Japan, in corporate Japan, because corporate Japan is huge. Like that's like 90% of the population. And I mean, it's crazy because like they have the potential to automate most things here, but still people are being kept to work to keep the economy pumping, right? Whereas like you have all these people that are super tired, all day, and they could be paid the same amount of money for half the time at work, be just as productive, and given incentivization models and bonuses to create the next bubble in Japan, which was huge. That was a technological, revolution, right? They've already got that kind of idea and mindset, and I think there's a lot more people involved in crypto in Japan than most people realize. I think there's a lot of like housewives in Japan that probably have little crypto stashes that their husbands don't even know about. That's my guess. I don't know. But I think like mixing those two things together in any country in the world is what's going to be huge, right? And I think like that idea that Yoshi brought up about like the corporations and setting the guiding principles, that runs through from permaculture. Because why should you not be able to, one of my favorite people to ever watch, if you get the chance, go watch a YouTube TED Talk video called Gangster Gardener. And it's about this guy in California, and he goes out to the segue between the street and the sidewalk, and he plants a garden in the middle of South Central LA, because there's like some big problems there. Basically, somebody knocks on his door and says, "Hey, somebody's like stealing your strawberries on the street." He's like, "That's why I put them there. I put them there for people to eat, right?" And actually, the city came down on him and said, "You can't do that. That's not your land. Like, that's city land. You can't put that there." And he said, and he had this like massive like lawsuit against him, and he won. And he said, "Look, it's not my land, but if I don't cut it, you fine me. And then if I put something there to like help feed, like, because you got to drive an hour to get a fresh apple, these types of things," right? And so I think this is the thing, like we live in this world where if you're lucky, your children are forced through an educational system that primes them to be successful in a world that preys off of, their labor. If you're lucky, like I'm not talking about the 1%, I'm talking about the normal people, right? And I don't agree with that. I don't want people to be lucky to have to conform to an archaic design that was, kind of thought about and implemented during the Industrial Revolution. Education to me makes no sense right now anymore, right? They've sucked all the creativity out of it, right? They've sucked all the education and the learning out of it. I mean, you can't go into a school. You can't go into a school now and teach people, like, you can't go into a school and teach kids how to do things by doing things. It all comes from textbooks. Like what I wanted to do for my doctorate, for my master's thesis is I wanted the kids to grow food in the garden. I wanted kids to like do marketing. I wanted kids to like figure out how to make food in the kitchen. I wanted the kids to take it outside and sell it to the people who were working on the rail in Honolulu, and I wasn't allowed to do that because that constitutes child labor in America. Now, how ridiculous is that, right? And so, like, when you look at somebody like what Yoshi's doing, and somebody like Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, they're kind of going in the opposite direction of what mainstream education is doing, which is good, right? They're putting technology in schools. They're teaching people how to use it. They're teaching people how to like think for themselves. Do I agree 100% with everything? No, but I'm never going to agree with 100% of anything than anything. But it makes more sense to me than sitting in a classroom with books. And I think that's what we need. We need to teach people. We need to give kids the opportunity to do music and art in school, but we also need to teach them how to put that music and art out there into the world. And things like Minecraft, things like NFTs, these are ways that we can teach them, to look after themselves, as opposed to just being passive, dreamers that, one day the system will forget, because I think that happens to a lot of kids. Not everyone's as lucky or I don't even think it's luck with Yoshi. I just think it's determination. But not everyone's as determined as Yoshi to be able to break the mold and, get their dream job, be able to do what they want to do in another country on the other side of the world, in like one of the toughest probably cities to immigrate and be successful in. So like, I think he's got a lot of value to say that, and I really respect that. But I'd like to make it easier for more people to be able to do what he did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jimmy's so spot on. It's scary to me.
It is. And now I want to go plant food on the little patch of grass in front of my house that I don't ever want to mow again. I want to dig it up and plant it.
But that's like, that's the thing, right? Like I harass people at this all the time, right? Like actually grass originally came, the idea of grass originally came from the Taj Mahal in India. And it was maintained by, I think, like 20 women on their hands and knees with shears, like cutting them. And then they had some goats or something, right? And now what do we have? We have this American dream in the US. It doesn't actually exist in Japan, which is one nice thing about it, because nobody has grass in Japan, right? But like we have this American dream of like, the white picket fence and the yard and, through 3 or 4 acres in the middle of the city, in the suburbs with this beautiful, thing. But how long does dad spend on the riding mower? And it's a riding mower. It's not even push mower anymore. Every week, like how much money does he have to work outside of the house to get that gas to maintain that, right? Like we've become a slave to our white picket fence dreams. And all you have to do is plant clover and mint. It will regenerate the soil. And when you step on it, it smells nice. So it keeps the cats away. It's really that simple, but people don't get it. They want what they want, and until people learn another avenue for being able to participate in something that means something to them, right? Like if people love cooking, they'll learn how to grow tomatoes because the tomatoes they're getting at the supermarket aren't good, or vice versa, right? If people love art, they'll learn how to use blockchain to be able to get that craft or that art out there. So it already exists. I think it's our job to educate people and show them how to do it in all of those avenues. I'm gonna be quiet now. Sorry. I'm gonna start a show on this channel called the Rants Club with Jimmy D, but not today.
That's fantastic, and there's a lot of truth to that too. Because since I've started talking about all of this, the other day my mom said, "How do we take?" She made a deck of anxiety cards with the idea being that you pick a card a day and it has a different strategy for battling anxiety. And so you stick it somewhere where you'll see it and you think about it and work with it and all the rest of that as a companion to the book she wrote, same topic. Wonderful, wonderful book. But now she's asking me, how do I make my deck of cards into NFTs? And I'm thinking, this is getting interesting now.
I might actually know somebody. Hit me up after, because
I will.
Some ladies who are doing some blockchain stuff. It's a group of women who are doing blockchain stuff, and they recently just put tarot cards on the blockchain, and they do like live readings.
Perfect.
And that seems like something that they would totally support to me.
Because that would be great, and it would be another thing you can do with the blockchain. It seems like the possibilities are endless, and I keep coming back to the nothing is impossible, but it seems like nothing is impossible. So, last question. All of this work that's being done specifically in the Uplift, but on the blockchain, with the NFTs, with the cryptocurrencies, with the decentralized everything, hopefully soon. How is that trickling down into the real world with each of you being involved in your own ways? What are you seeing that's changed since you started being involved?
Hey, me, am I going first?
Sure.
Okay. I think it changed me the way that I'm more optimistic about the future.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, I am not as worried as I was for my kids. Maybe something great might come out of this, and we don't just disappear into some crazy conflict, right? I always thought that near future we're gonna have some crazy conflict where we can go back to have the way that we used to be, but maybe I'm wrong, and I'm more optimistic about the future. And yeah, especially for my kids, like maybe this technology can employ them, or maybe it can be the opportunity to express themselves creatively, or in a business, or however they want to make out of it.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm excited about.
Excellent. What about you, Jimmy?
I didn't really have an answer, so it's difficult, but I think like Yoshi's got a good point there, right? Like it does offer us, I think part of the reason why we're so excited about it is because we've got that kind of boost of ambition towards something that's tangible to make our lives better, and we're the type of people that we want to see other people have that same opportunity, whether it's our kids, whether it's because we're educators, whether it's because we're just genuinely, people that have got through something. Because I find the most successful people are usually people who had difficulty and they figured out how to solve that, and that gives them the motivation or the ambition to be able to go back and guide other people that might be struggling with the same thing, because there was nobody there to help them do it, right? And I see, kind of that in Yoshi when he talks about coming back to Japan and helping other people come and participate in what has become his livelihood and his passion, right? So I think Yoshi's answer is like bang on, like it offers us that hope, and through that hope we can build a model for change so that other people can see the light, and no longer do we have to play into this narrative that you need to go and do things this way, and that's what life is, and you just need to grin and bear it, because I think there's something way more on the other side. Before I finish though, you that can't be the last question.
No,
we have a music producer on the thing, and so you have to ask that question. Come on.
That question?
Yeah.
There are about 10 questions that came to mind when you said that, so I'll go with the first one that's on my mind. What's the next big thing? What are you working on in terms of music? Oh, you are muted.
Oh, sorry.
Of course.
With Uplift World, we're doing the music drops called Yoshi's Drops.
Yeah,
But,
tell me.
it's about attempt to make art and music come together, and trying to showcase with my music and the arts that are in the wax chain, and we're trying to do that. But let's see what M Blue has in his mind, and yeah, I'm excited to be a part of it.
That's really exciting. So are you finding people, or would you be open to people finding you for something like that?
Yeah, people can hit me up or hit up Uplift people. I think they'll, we wanna do it all together, and just a team effort. So
that is really exciting. And do you know when that'll drop, or is it still a work in progress very much, or?
Hopefully sometime summer. But I can't speak for the entire Uplift music community. But one thing I can say that I'm always down for collaborations. If anyone wants this and do music and stuff like that, just hit me up. And I'm a music guy, so if it's music business or creative or anything you may have, just come to my way. Just make sure you're from wax ecosystem, and then we're good.
That's fantastic. Well, I hope people find you. I hope lots of people find you, and we should talk again before things drop and just see how, I don't know, I have 20 more questions, but I think we do have to wrap it up. But I do want to talk to you again and see how things are going, and
let's do it next time with when I'm in Japan with Jimmy. Let's do it together.
Yeah, that'll be
amazing. Okay.
I'd be down for that. I like that idea. But you do have to ask one more question though, Jen, before you go, because I want to hear, and I actually prepared an answer too. So, but I want to hear Yoshi's, because Jen always asks. Well, she doesn't always, but a lot of times she's asked the guests if I were to listen to one piece of music when I.
That question. Yes. Yes.
So you want to ask Jen? Yeah.
Can't live without that one. So, and that's from both of you. What am I listening to when I do the write-up?
Did you get that, Yoshi?
No, I couldn't hear it. Sorry.
Yeah.
What am I going to be listening to when I do the write-up after this interview? When I write for the blog?
Jimmy, you go first.
No, I'm gonna make you go first because I don't want to throw. Well, okay, I can go first. It's funny because I have sure. You asked me, and you're nice. So, I've got actually a really wide music taste. But recently, for some reason, my daughter, she really likes like remixes of music. So I've just been putting that on because it's easy. And the default answer has been everything Uplift, which I think it's great. You know, my Bitcoin Bull. What's the last one that Corey did? I always forget the name of that one. Was brilliant and amazing as well. But I just like the idea that there's you know, passion and potential for education and change in music. I've always liked that. And from a lyrical point of view, there was a Black Eyed Peas song that came out a while ago that talks about, you know, terrorism and racism in the USA. And I always thought the lyrics for that were really good. And it's called Where's the Love? And there was a remix that was recently done with Elena Soul. And she has one of the most beautiful voices. And putting that, such a succinct, beautiful voice behind those lyrics was so empowering to me that I just want to shout that out. No affiliation to us whatsoever at all. But definitely, I think there's rhymes and reasons why this, you know, could be connected to everything that we do in UpliftArt and the Uplift World. If you know the original song, it's kind of almost like a harder rappy, but then you put that, you know, angelic sound behind it, and it just makes you want to, you know, just makes you want to be in that better place where we're not worried about all of these issues, and we can get on to fixing our problems as one, you know, as one giant organism, right? I actually prepared a lot for this interview, Jen. Like the other thing was like I wanted you to do the noun thing and the verb thing because like my noun was mycelium because I believe in this, like, you know, I believe in this ecosystem. I believe that we all have connections, right? So those two things tied together, right? Like it's funny, you know. I know.
Well, then what's your verb?
No, it's okay. We don't have to do it. My verb, my noun is mycelium, right? But like but this is the thing, right? As a permaculturalist, right? And so you put those two things together, and I think that's where we have the power. So yes, I love everything that Uplift is doing, but I want to, like Yoshi said, see that some of these great lyrics, because Corey's really good at this as well, being remixed and redone and brought into the fold to be able to teach us how to do some really cool stuff, preferably in, you know, potentially a hashtag digital vinyl format, which Yoshi has something to do with because he's an amazing producer. So that's what I'd like to see. So that's my answer, Yoshi.
Okay, so I want you to listen to DMX.
Okay.
Today.
Challenge accepted.
Because he was such a good part, big part of my music life, and as well as he just passed away. And you know, he was iconic New York artist who represent the era of hip hop. So, and a lot of people that I worked for, I'm working with, are from that era, and then got blessed by those artists, and you know, that whole hip hop and R&B and dance music era, 80s and 90s. So just to sum it up at all, I wanted to listen to DMX. It was good.
Excellent. I will definitely do both of those.
Perfect.
And I'm not letting you get out of this now, Jimmy. What's your verb?
Growth.
Growth?
Yeah.
Okay. And who, what, when, where, why, or how?
Where's the all of the above? How?
How do you think mycelium is going to grow in the in the cryptocurrency world?
Yeah, so for me, mycelium is actually it's more of a concept than anything. And if you don't know what it is, it's the little hyphae that run under the surface. What you see is in the mushroom cap is like the iceberg. It's a really small fraction of that. And I think the undercurrents of what we're doing in Wax, what we're doing with crypto, are going to run so deep into the fray that, like, I still think when crypto takes over the world, there's going to be a large percentage of the people that still think crypto is a scam, and they're going to be using it every single day without even realizing it, without even knowing it. Right?
Yeah, I definitely see that for sure.
So I think, yeah, that ideology where you can take from one place and put it to another, because I think there's like something like a 6 mile way that like mycelium can actually take a nutrient from like one side and then like put it into the roots of another, and it just connects all of that. If you're like a Star Trek fan, you've seen this reference in the new Star Trek as well, and I just think that it's one of the most underrated things on the planet, not necessarily because of what it does and they're delicious, but because of how it connects the world. And it's a better internet than the internet, right? And like, it's the same way that our synapses in our brains fire. It's the same, if you look at the structure of it, it's the same, organizing principle they theorize is what is responsible for the universe as a whole, and how all of these things are connected together. I'm not a religious person, but there is definitely something to be said about, spiritual coincidences at the very least that exist in the East. And like, I just think that once we have all of these great blockchain projects, working together, talking together, instead of fighting, again, back to my song, instead of fighting against one another for supremacy and control, what happens when they're all connected? What happens when they're all plugged in? What happens when, that decentralized DeFi system, which Yoshi talked about earlier, is a reality instead of a dream, whereby there is no more middlemen, and we are on this process of self-organization, hopefully, on a positive course as opposed to a negative course. Yeah, that's my answer, kind of.
I like that. That works.
So, it sounds scary too.
Well, a little,
it's as happy, it's as amazing as it sounds. I know there's a lot of people be like, no, we don't want that. Like, I see them right now. So it's like, yeah, they'll defend to the death for sure.
Oh, definitely.
So see what happens.
I'm curious. So do you want to play the magic question game? Make your own question?
What?
So first you choose a noun, person, place, or thing.
Jimmy, I don't know how to play this game.
I'll help you out. So it's fun. You're gonna choose some things, right? So choose a noun. So a meishi. You need a meishi. Just pick any meishi, any noun, and then tell her any person, any place, anything.
What? Just.
Like whatever you want. It can be tangible object. I mean, if you want to say apple, you can say apple. Whatever you want. Anything is cool. This is beauty of grammar in Japan. They hate English grammar in Japan.
You know me, Jimmy knows me, man. It's so crazy. Unity. Unity is a noun?
Sure.
Yep, that'll work. And a verb, a doing word.
I don't know. Run.
Okay. And a who, what, when, where, why, or how.
Oh shit! There we go. You know, I'm a second.
Tough one.
English is the second language for me, right?
Yeah, so that makes it a bit more challenging.
I think this is going to be more
challenging. Humanity.
No.
How it goes?
No, well, that is kind of the direction I was heading with it. So if we have more or less,
let's do it together.
Two things going on here. So we've got the people who are all about decentralized everything, and the people who are going to fight to the death for that centralization. How is that going to look when everybody runs together and is forced to be unified in some weird mix of the two. What's that in between time gonna look like?
Yeah, right.
It's gonna look like when
I think.
America come together.
Yeah, thank you, man, Jimmy. Yeah, if what West wants and what East wants and what they don't want each other, then agree to be okay. I don't know if that's ever gonna come together. It's a lot of crazy things in between.
Definitely.
It is, it's politics and people. It's just way bigger than crypto at the moment, right? It's a lot of craziness, a lot of uncertainties. It's between people, and it's just not between countries, but just people you see every day, right?
Yep.
It's everybody got a luggage on their over their head, right? Everybody's hurt, right?
Yep.
So
But here's the thing, right, Yoshi? Like, I think one of the beautiful things about Japan is no one in this country votes. No one in this country really cares, because like they all kind of know that, like, no matter what they vote, nothing is ever going to change. Yet it's one of the most peaceful, passive, progressive countries in the world.
yeah,
And like, so what happens when wax or blockchain takes over the world, and that becomes a reality, right? There might be those few people, like you say, that will never agree and will never be on board, but the rest of us, we're not going to care, because we're just going to be running around on the blockchain doing what we want to do, right? That might be how we get through to the other side.
Interesting.
Yeah. Maybe those people get left out, and then they can live on the mountain, and then we can all live in a tiny apartment and be happy with it, right? I'm with it.
That's a good possibility.
I much rather be minimalist and a hoarder at the same time on a blockchain than just have everything.
I like that. I like not having to have stuff, but still being able to have that strange human emotional attachment to things that are not real.
I think Jimmy was talking about it last time. Like, even after I died, people can see my NFTs, and they can never get to it, right? Because this Yoshi's NFT, like 1,000 years from now, that is so amazing.
It really is. Absolutely. So, in closing, start with Jimmy. We'll do a round of gratitudes. Jimmy, what are you grateful for right now?
I'm grateful that Yoshi invited me to come on this interview with him. That means a lot to me.
Excellent. What about you, Yoshi? What are you grateful for?
I'm grateful for Jimmy to come to be with me for the so funny for this, but I'm grateful for this present moment, just three of us just having fun, just discussing about same thing in different parts of the world. It's amazing to me, and I'm grateful for that.
Me too. I'm grateful for finally getting a chance to sit down and talk with both of you, and I'm glad you know each other, because this worked out very well. This has been a good conversation, and I'm really pleased with how things went. So thank you.
Thank you.
On that note, we'll say goodnight. Jen's Awesome Show will be back tomorrow morning at 9:15 Saskatchewan time, I believe, with Sue, and we're going to be talking about chicken ka. So, see you tomorrow.
Wow. Bye. Thank you.